You're now listening to From the Jump.
Gangsta Boo of 3-6 Mafia has recently passed away, and we're going to discuss the reasons why this happened and our take on that. Make sure you subscribe and leave a comment below saying I subscribed, and we'll try our best to reply to your comment. Welcome to From the Jump, your source for all things hip-hop. I'm Syllable, this is my co-host,
Mr. White.
So, I know you a big fan of 3-6 Mafia. And
Huge Gangsta, fan of 3-6 Mafia.
Gangsta Boo was considered the queen of Memphis. She had quite a legacy as one of the first female rappers to really come out there and get recognized, to influence a whole bunch of other rappers after her.
Definitely. If you were talking about like hard body MC females, besides like Little Kim, I think Gangsta Boo fits that realm, right?
Right now, it's said that she passed away potentially due to an overdose, though there's not an official statement out yet about that, but it's fentanyl. Her fans don't really believe that she OD'd on fentanyl. What a lot of people are saying is that it was laced into something else. Maybe it was weed, maybe whatever it was. She didn't realize that she was doing all that, and then that's what happened. And unfortunately, it's an epidemic right now.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't understand how dangerous things have become as far as messing around with the underworld, right? Like, I'm not saying that it's ever been safe, but I think that people are too trusting of the world, right? Like, like you expect somebody to give you something and maybe you're like, oh, this won't kill me, right? Nowadays, that's not so true, right? Like,
it's not.
A lot of people are getting tainted drugs.
Because shit's getting laced.
Yeah.
Right? I've known people, of course, I won't mention, that have thought they were going to smoke a joint. They got past something and it was laced with, it could have been fentanyl, could have been crack, it could have been something else. And they went on a ride they did not want to go through. It was a hellish experience. And the fact is that you should never trust someone else that you don't fully know that's going to hand you something, because you don't know what's in it these days.
And it's just a problem with using drugs and being in that realm of doing drugs. It puts you in this space of ultimate vulnerability. Essentially, you have to be able to believe that the person that gave you this stuff cares about your life enough,
or your well-being,
to not kill you. It's like, and it's so sickening, because whoever sold her this stuff probably didn't know either. If you didn't test it, you don't know what it is. We have to stop romanticizing drug usage. With 3-6, when I was younger, I kind of thought it was cool, like it was edgy.
Yeah.
Talk about sipping on some scissor, which was basically about codeine
and lean
usage, right? And they talked about a myriad of other drugs. I didn't do most of that stuff, right? But I always thought it was edgy to be like that. I think the music, it felt like how I was living, right?
Yeah.
And as I got older, I just kind of stuck to them, right? Because when 3-6 first came out, they weren't really that popular. They're pretty underground. But they were able to blow up pretty significantly, right? At a certain point where you get songs that are super popular, like Riding Spinners or Sipping on Scissor. Sipping on some scissor. I've realized over time all the pain and trauma and suffering that people go through because of drug addiction.
It's bad.
Use, man.
And you don't look. It's one of those situations where you have to really think about, does the effort really make it worth it? Is the result of these actions and that lifestyle that's chosen really make it worth your effort? In my younger days, I was on all types of shit when I was younger, and I served time. It fucked up a good years of my life I could have been using to build my legacy, to build my business, to get on that Escobar level, right? And get into the business realm of creating passive income. And there's so many other things that you can invest your time into than romanticizing the drug use. And it's unfortunate. And it makes you really think about the whole concept of who sponsors a lot of these rap videos that are produced.
Yeah.
Who is it really just a commercial for designer drugs? Like, you really have to look at your life and the energy that you extend and what that will return or what it won't. It's very simple.
Yeah, and I mean, coming from a family that has struggled with addiction, specifically alcohol addiction, like, I know a lot of times people just kind of go through their day to day and they feel like, they need something to get them right, to fix
Take the edge off or whatever.
Yeah, and it's like, this is something that we talk about a lot on our channel in terms of mental health. Go get help. Stop using the drugs as a crutch to make yourself feel better. Eventually, you have to realize that there's something wrong. chasing that high is not a good thing. And then we're seeing a lot of young artists also being impacted by this.
Yeah.
You know, Big Scar recently passed, Juice WRLD passed like this. We had Mac Miller. Like, I could go on and on. Like, and you know, we oftentimes we talk about the gun violence. Overdoses is just as bad.
Well, I think really what it comes down to is behavior that becomes normalized, right?
Yeah.
I grew up with a lot of violence, a lot of drugs, a lot of guns, and the hood that I grew up in before it got gentrified. And the fact is that became normal. That's part of your everyday, daily life. You don't question shit when you normalize it. And that's the thing, is that we should question what we've normalized in our life to ask ourselves, is this really taking more than it's giving? Because a lot of times it does. And I'm sorry, but just trying to act hard because you can do a bunch of drugs doesn't really make you hard. It makes you a victim of an endless cycle where it goes back to the CIA taking this shit from Nicaragua and poured it into black communities in the 80s. Like, this shit goes way back, and it is a method of control. The controlled substance are a method of control.
Absolutely.
And I think people need to free themselves of this shit.
For sure, man. And it's like, it makes you really have to respect someone like Eminem, for instance, who came out with the Recovery album. And a lot of people were kind of clowning him for that.
This is true.
But recognize that it's a problem. It's like, don't just be like, all right, I'm young, it's not a big deal,
I'm gonna live forever.
Yeah, I could do this later when I'm 40, when I'm 50. It's like, no, the addiction that you start now will go into that time period, and you might not make it.
You know, one of the things that it was a really big realization to me when I was younger, when I had a bunch of friends that were all on drugs, is it made me realize, because all they would talk about is the newest drugs they were doing, the newest pieces they were using, the newest strands of whatever, and that was all they talked about.
Yeah,
and it was like,
consumed by it.
And it was like
so easily,
right? And so I'm looking at this, and I had this big realization when I was younger. Wait, this is stealing experiences from them. Experiences where they could be living a better life and be happier and enjoy themselves, and however that manifests, right? But it steals experiences. It takes them away when you're all drugged out and you can't even be there or be present. Imagine trying to be there with your family members or your grandma and you too fucked up to actually be present.
Happens.
You know,
it happens.
That's some fucked up shit.
You know, I support anybody who's moving towards sobriety. And it's like, I don't demonize people because they use drugs, but realize you need to work on yourself. Realize that's a flaw. That's not something that is a good thing. You shouldn't constantly
brag about it.
Yeah, it should be like, all right, you made some mistakes, or maybe some people they get into it because they had health issues, right? They start taking, opiates, and then they get into it that way as well. But
or they have mental health issues that they're using drugs to escape what they have going on in here.
But eventually you need to put the crutch down, find healthier ways to deal with things, and live your fullest life, because the drugs aren't going to let you live your fullest life.
It's not going to happen.
Rest in peace to Gangsta Boo, because
rest in peace
43 is too young to go.
That's way too young.
It's way too young to go.
Yeah, and rest in peace Big Scar as well.
Yes.
So what do y'all think about the epidemic of drug addiction and how that's being promoted inside of hip hop? Please comment below, like and subscribe, and tune in for another episode of From the Jump.